Welcome. You are watching Teacher Talks with your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. I'm excited about tonight's show. So, get yourself together. Go ahead and grab your coffee, your tea, your drink, your beverage, whatever it is you're going to be drinking tonight, because we got a great show for you tonight. We are talking about emotional and mental health. I will be back in 60 seconds, but while you're waiting, you can like, comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, and LinkedIn channel. I will be back in 60 seconds. Go ahead, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now, let me know who you are. Get in the comments. Say good evening to me. I will be right back. So welcome to Teacher Talks again. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes. I'm so excited that you have decided to join me tonight on Teacher Talks. We are going to have a very rich and healthy conversation tonight. We are talking about social and emotional health, sustaining those two things. But we're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff, so you definitely don't want to miss it. And you definitely don't want to share this with somebody that you know that could benefit from this lively conversation. So, as I always say, it is 9 o'clock here on the East Coast, but wherever you are, it's likely 5 o'clock, which means it is adult time. Hopefully, the kids are down because it is time for us to catch up. So tonight I have my handy coffee mug tonight. This is coffee, people. I don't lie to you all. I'm not telling you I'm drinking coffee and I'm really not. I'm drinking something else. I'm not. It's been a long day. I've been on the road. I've been working with people all day long, working with teachers and principals. So been a very productive day. But on Thursdays when I have to do this at the end of the night, I am a little bit tired. So what do I need? A pick me up. You know what? I think I need an advertisement as well. So if somebody wants to give me an advertisement, who's going to help give me a pick me up, a coffee brand, an energy drink, something, I will be more than happy to promote your product on Teacher Talks. Just saying. So, hey, this is the wrong plugging yourself. But anyway, I was at Ballard Hudson Middle School today. Shout out to the Ballard Hudson family, Dr. Penniman Nash. Today was my last day with them. It is not goodbye. It is I'll see you soon. Thanks again for the opportunity. We had some great times together. I think we had some great learning opportunities for teachers as well as for students. And I look forward to returning to work with you very, very, very soon. Now, I'm exhausted, but I could not do the show tonight. One, because this is a very important topic. And two, I mean, is it still International Women's History Month? I have had some phenomenal women on this show back to back to back. And tonight, I am not disappointing. I have brought back another phenomenal woman. Phenomenal? That's her. Little Maya Angelou for you. Look, it's still Black History Month, people. I'm just saying. So I have Miss Nicole Small. She's actually been here before, but I told you guys I was going to bring her back. And guess what? I held strong to my word. She is back. Before I introduce her, if you are watching, and I know how many people are on here. So first of all, I need you to tell me good evening, because it's the most polite thing to do when you walk into somebody's house. Good evening to you. You say good evening to me, and then let me know who's here. Give me a shout out. I want to know who I'm talking to, who we're communicating with, and who I'm looking for or forward to being a part of this conversation as we discuss social and emotional health. Miss Colbert, I see you. I love you. I recognize you. I honor you. Thank you for watching, Miss Colbert. As always, you're always in the group chat, always giving some lively communications, some lively comments and feedback. And you, my friend, keep the conversation going. It's people like you, which is why I continue to do this every night or every Thursday night for free. Just saying. So with that being said, let me bring on my guest. Now, she came with the looks tonight, y'all. Y'all are ready? Are you ready? And there she is. Let's bring her on, Miss. Let me give you the whole view, people. Let me bag it up. Oh, there it is. Say hello, everybody, to Miss Nicole Small.
Hello. It's my pleasure to honestly be here and to share in this space with you. I'm so glad that I got to come back. So I'm excited to be here and can't wait to get into this teacher talk. I too am an adult, but I'm only drinking water tonight.
There's nothing wrong with it. Don't be ashamed. Okay, honor your water tonight.
I'll be honoring my water tonight, for sure.
I know you told me you've had a long day as well, so that water is important because you need to be hydrated, right?
That's right. It is definitely a part of my overall health and wellness. So,
look how you pull that in. See,
always.
Yeah, I'm dealing with a genius here tonight. So, following on the heels of Dr. Coon and Dr. Sandrine Griffith Stewart, as we talk about academics and school improvement, I thought it was also important that we still keep our focus on social and emotional health of students and adults and parents and communities, especially those of color. There is no way I cannot pull in some of the things that have been going on in this country in the last 10 days. right?
Ooh,
And so as we talk about emotional and mental health, we have to bring some of those issues up in this conversation because I think it's relevant, right? Um,
definitely, definitely.
we have some things we plan to talk about, but once again, we are at the mercy of the viewers. You guys will guide us wherever it is you need to go to make sure you're getting what you need from this platform. Remember, my main goal is to provide information and access, but while we're doing so, we're learning, we're laughing, and you all are experiencing love because that's what I am. Love.
Oh, I love
That was
that.
good. That was good. I enjoyed that for myself. I needed that. So, Miss Small, before we start, tell the viewers and the listeners just a little bit about yourself as much as you want to share because we got to dive into the real conversation.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so hello to all of your viewers. Thank you for allowing me this space. My name is Nicole Small. I am a associate professional counselor here in the state of Georgia. I am a native of Atlanta. I went to Lovejoy High School. Go Clayton County. And so I went to Mercer, and that's how me and Dr. Holmes met actually at Mercer University. So go Bears to them as well. And I got my master's at Wake Forest a couple of years ago, and I've been doing counseling ever since. And so in all of my years of adulthood, I've been working in higher education and supporting students. I've always worked with youth and young adults, and it's part of my passion, and I really just enjoy being a source and a resource for those students, providing them with comfort and support, but also reality checks, because I feel like everybody needs one every once in a while. And so if I'm going to read somebody, I want to read them fulfilled, but in a good way. So that's what so that's what I've been doing.
Remember, she said that if she's going to read you for Phil, she wants to read you in a good way, y'all. That's probably the nicest way I've ever heard anybody say that. To be read for Phil in a good way. Is there a productive way to be read for Phil?
Definitely, definitely. So think about it like this. If you were in a crisis, a mental health crisis, there's going to be a situation where you need somebody to bring you back from that crisis, and they need to be able to see you and recognize where you are, recognize what's happening with you. And that's a read, because you're going to come in to that session and you're going to want to hide the things that are happening with you. You're going to want to protect the secrets that you have. And so your therapist is there to check that.
Okay, so listen, you guys heard it there. I'm not the professional in that area, so I can't touch it. All I can do is trust it, right? All I can do is trust it. I just made that up, but I like that. I may use that again another time.
You should.
So with that being said, we're going to dive in. So when we think about emotional and mental health, remember, if you're watching right now, stop what you're doing, share this. We're doing this for the culture, okay? Share this right now, because some people need to hear this. As it relates to emotional and mental health, Miss Small, what does that mean?
Ooh, let's get with the heavy hitters really quick, right?
Yeah, we gotta dive in.
Your wellness is an overall aspect of your life, right? It's a part of the balance that you keep. It's a part of how you maintain your day to day. How do you keep balance from your highs and your lows? Everybody's going to experience highs and lows. Everybody's going to have good days and bad days. But when you're talking about mental health, emotional health, there's a part of you that is supposed to self-regulate at a certain point. You're supposed to be able to say, ooh, this was really, really bad. I feel really low. What can I do to make myself feel better? Or what can I do to get back to a balanced place? And that has to do with your physical health. It has to do with your emotional health, even your occupational health. A lot of people don't think about how your workplace affects your overall mental and emotional well-being. And so if you're not taking care of one of those categories, there's 6 wellness categories. If you're not taking care of one of those areas, it's going to affect the rest of your wellness. It's going to affect how you move through the world. And so to be emotionally healthy or mentally healthy is to be able to experience life's stimulus, whatever that happens to be, and be able to self-regulate back to what's an area of normalcy or what's an area of balance. And so when you can't, or when you're having a struggle with that regulation, that's where you start to talk about, okay, what is it that I'm not getting? What area is out of whack, so that I can make sure that I can adjust for that. And that's the biggest part. It's being able to balance out all of the things that are happening in your life.
So will you automatically know when you are out of balance?
No, no. I think that depends on the person.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that depends on the person. So some people are really great at self-awareness. That's a skill.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort for somebody to figure out what they're feeling and know and be able to identify it for themselves, to be able to identify not just their feelings, but also how those feelings affect their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so that all has a lot to do with how they interpret their feelings as well.
Mm.
So for some, it's going to be very difficult because they've never had to, or no one ever taught them.
Yeah.
And so they have to work on that skill. For others, it's been ingrained in them since they were very, very young. And so it's a natural ability that they've developed. And some people, and this goes to kind of your learning style kind of conversation, some people are really innately gifted in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just depends on who you are as a person and how you've been nurtured and the nature in which that you've been placed.
So let me ask you this question. So we're talking about teachers, adults, students, people in the community, parents. Sometimes people feel out of balance and they know they're out of balance, but there are times where the feelings that we have are attributed to ourselves.
Yes.
There's a lack of accountability personally for how you treat yourself. And then what we do is we cast the blame externally. Talk a little bit to somebody or to the viewers about how to take accountability for how you treat yourself and own your own personal self-damage.
Ooh, okay. So you're talking about.
I'm ready.
You're ready. When you're talking about accountability, right, and responsibility to your own emotional well-being, you're looking at the ability to process what you're dealing with, and that process. A lot of people say trust the process, but they don't really know what that means. What it means is the ability to identify what you're dealing with in that moment, whether that's a feeling of anger or sadness or happiness or excitement, and be able to place it to your actual behavior. For the people who aren't accountable to their behaviors because they would rather place that blame elsewhere, the conversation becomes about developing certain skills. It's about the ability to self-regulate in a way. So everybody has the ability to take responsibility. Everybody doesn't. They would rather say, oh no, that's not me. I blame this on my trauma, or I'm going to blame this on my circumstance. And to an extent, there's a space for that. There's a space to say, you're not responsible for the things that have happened to you, but you are responsible for how you move past it once you know that it's a problem. And that's usually where the conversation takes the left turn, because a lot of people want to be able to say, I can blame this on, someone else. I can blame this on my parents. My parents never did this for me. My parents never did that for me. But this, we've worked with students for a long time. There's a lot of people whose parents are not the best parents. Right. There's a lot of circumstances that people have endured and moved on from and moved better from. And it's not to say that you can't do that on your own. Some people may need a little bit of help and support, but there is a responsibility that you have to move beyond your circumstances at a certain point. You have to be responsible for your growth. You're not responsible for the acts that were done or the trauma that you experienced, but you are responsible for your growth. And that's the part where you can no longer place blame. You have to then own up to the fact that I'm an adult now, or I'm a young adult and I don't want to be like the people that were around me when I grew up. And that's where therapy can help in a lot of instances. You can get that support. You can find somebody to undergird you while you're learning these skills, because it's a skill. If you've never been taught something, if you never were taught to read, you would never be able to until somebody showed you the way. And that's what therapy can be for those people who don't want to take responsibility or have never been taught to take responsibility. Therapy is there for that.
So let's just go back and say this very plainly. Miss Small is advocating for therapy. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy, people. You need somebody to help you navigate through these tough times in your life when you may be a little bit unsure or if you feel unbalanced. But one thing you said, this is what I heard you say to me, is that you can't only be focused on the seed. You have to also be focused on its growth.
Yes.
And so many of us feel like, oh, well, I'm gifted here and I can do this, I'm talented, and blah, blah, blah. But all those are seeds. But if you don't nurture the growth of the seed, when it stalls, it's not always somebody else's fault.
That's right.
Sometimes you didn't give it what it needed to reach its full and maximum potential.
Hello.
Okay? There's a seed, you're the soil. You nurture the growth of the seed that you have, and stop always first looking outward to say, oh, somebody didn't do this or didn't provide me or didn't support me. What did you do first?
I'm going to help you.
Go.
Yes.
Help me.
I'm going to help you. No. So this is a good point. I'm going to do this for my mama because my mama would love that I said this. There's a parable of seed sowing, right? So there were seeds that were cast on good ground or fallow ground and all of these other types of ways that seeds can be thrown. And those seeds can be thrown amongst thorns. So there's going to be an area where that seed is not going to grow because the soil is not enriched for it to live in, right? So if we're going to be the soil, you have to make sure that you till the ground. Wow. You have to do something to make it nurturing for the seed that is there. You have to also have other people to water you. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you just say that sometimes you have to disturb the environment?
That's correct. You have to till
that
that
mean
soil.
That you may be uncomfortable in order to grow?
Can we talk about how therapy is uncomfortable, but it's also really good for you?
Okay, listen, y'all. She just said it. Sometimes you're going to have to till the soil. Sometimes turn it over, upside down, which is not going to be uncomfortable, but it's necessary for growth.
Yes.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it. The professional said it.
Yes. No, it's uncomfortable, but it's good for you. Sometimes you have to throw over the tables, or you have to turn over the soil, or you have to start fresh. How many times have we talked about people who farm and they burn the lands to start new, to start fresh? Sometimes you have to destroy what is there because it is no longer serving you. And if it no longer serves you, why are you still trying to feed into something that doesn't benefit you? Why would you continue to do that?
Wait. I'm getting overwhelmed. Wait. Did get in this chat right now, people. Listen to what she just said. Say that again about burning.
So sometimes as you are tilling soil, as you are farming, you must burn that area down. You have to cleanse it. It's a purification process. As we galvanize one another, as we iron sharpen iron for those who are in the word, as we do that for other people, sometimes we have to burn that soil to refresh it. You have to kill the things that were there that are no longer serving you so that you can plant the new thing, so that you can till the soil again and make it refreshed for your new season.
So as we talk about emotional, see, now we're navigating in directions I had not anticipated, which is why I love having guests on, because it really brings in rich and deep conversations that I think everybody really can connect with. So when you burn the environment, or you burn the framework, or you burn the mindset,
Yes.
or you burn the paradigm of who you are and the value that you think you didn't have, or everything your mother or your father said about you, or the damage that relationship caused to you, or the F's you made over and over and over again, and the teacher told you how dumb you were. Sometimes what you're saying to me, in order to grow, those experiences, you have to literally burn, erase, and start over.
For some, it requires that. For some, it's going to require you to push beyond what you understood to be healing. Some people think that healing is, oh, I read a book about it, or oh, I cried about it, and so now I'm good. For some, that will work. And for some issues, that will work. But the purification process is painful. The healing process is painful. Somebody is going to literally take all of the darkness, the scary places, the big feelings that you have had and that you have tamped down and that you've put stuff on top of and that you have hidden from the world, the darkest of your skeletons. Somebody's going to take all that, they're going to put it in your face. They're going to run it up and run it down against you. And they're going to put a mirror to you and say, this is what has happened to you. It does not define who you are, and it doesn't define who you can be if you do the work.
Yeah.
And it's the if you do the work part that people don't like to hear. If you do the work.
Yeah, say that if you
do the work, it's your responsibility.
Do the work.
If you do the work.
It's not anybody else's job to do the work for you.
No.
You have to do the work. And everybody has been through something. Let's just simply say that. And so it may not be to the level that's detrimental, but you still have to navigate through that space.
Definitely.
Okay, stop right there. If you're watching, remember, like, comment, share. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel right now. And most importantly, if you don't subscribe, share this with somebody right now. Put it on your page, share it out, share the link. This is some really, really good conversation. I'm already getting a lot of it out of myself. Let me get some shout outs. Jeanette 3, thank you for watching. I see you. I honor you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Ms. Gibson Holmes, Dr. Coombs, Ms. Barnhill, I see you. Let's see. Miss Thomas, Vernice Thomas. What's up, Vernice Thomas?
Hey, Miss Vernice.
We love you. Kay Ficklin. Well, let me honor the whole thing. Kay Elliott Ficklin. I want to give you some props. I gotta get it all in there. What's up to you? Let's see. Nephew, brother, love. This talented Johan Marquis Smith. I see you, nephew. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys are sharing this out as we get into this conversation about emotional and mental health. So golly, I mean, we've covered a lot of things in just a short period of time about burning and tilling and being accountable for your own feelings. So when we think about somebody that's dealing with, let's say, emotional and mental health, and I really want to get into this because I think sometimes people experience this and they don't know what they're really dealing with, right? Oglesby, what's up? Thanks for watching, Oglesby. I call it Kiwi, or maybe I'm not the only one. Other people call it Kiwi too. But so when you're dealing with somebody that may be going through some mental or emotional health, what could some of those interactions look like?
Ooh,
I know it could be very broad.
It can be. I would say you have to know that person and see where the changes are, right? So for kids, I'll try to age it up for you.
Okay.
So for kids, you may see differences in sleep patterns, right? When they're dealing with something emotional or traumatic. If they're having some mental illness concerns, you may start to see them withdraw from the things they used to do. So if they loved a particular set of toys, or if they had like certain routines and the routines just kind of fly out of the window, there's some sort of issue there to pay attention to. It may not be completely like a behavioral concern. It may not jump to, oh, this kid is just like wilding out of control. It may not get to that point. It may be, I just want to sleep, mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, will you just let me sleep a little longer?
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking, well, I put you in bed at 9:00. You should be, getting 8 hours, 10 hours of sleep. Why do you still want this more? And that can happen for some kids. It may be an attention issue where the kid used to be super attentive to an assignment or to a television show, and all of a sudden that behavior has changed. That could happen with some younger people during development, right? When you look at teenagers, a lot of people think, oh, as soon as they start to wild out, then there's a problem. And that's not always the case either. You start to see them withdraw, or you start to see them experiment in some ways, because as youth, for some of my educators, I'm sure they know, they don't have the stop sign in their frontal lobe. There's nothing that tells them, hey, maybe we should slow down. Everything is go, 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 adrenaline. There's nothing that shuts them down because that part of the brain hasn't developed yet. So they don't have the skill to say, maybe that was a bad decision.
So let's talk with teenagers or students in general, because I know we have some parents on here. We've got some higher ed people. As it relates to grades, if you see a child's grade dropping, like right now in this pandemic, could that be a sign of some type of emotional or mental trauma?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. And I say that because...
Or are they just being lazy? And what's the difference? Because they need to know the difference. Listen, parents, I'm trying to help you. So I want you to know whether your child is just being lazy and not doing the work, or if there's something really, really going on that you need to be concerned about, so you can stop cursing them out and really provide them with some support, because it really could be more detrimental than helpful, depending on what they're going through.
Yeah, I would say in the middle of the pandemic, and I say this to all parents, I say this to everyone, give yourself the grace. So everybody's experiencing this pandemic, and not just the pandemic for your COVID-19 situation, but also the pandemic in terms of social injustice, racial injustice. You're dealing with a lot of things at one time. Don't even start to dissect the intersectionality of being Black and a woman, or Black and a child, or Black and a man, like LGBTQ. You don't even want to go that far. Just recognize the fact that in this season, nothing is as it was. I won't say nothing is as it should be, but nothing is as it was. So kids are no longer in classrooms that they're accustomed to being in. The structure that they're used to isn't there. So if they're accustomed to being in a classroom and the teacher says, okay, this is the assignment, this is how you do the assignment, blase, blase, blase. And now that kid is sitting at home, either on a laptop, and for the kids who are visual learners, that may be okay. Or for the auditory learners, it might not be. Or for the kinesthetic learners, how are they supposed to get the hands-on interaction? For those kids who are intrapersonal, how are they supposed to operate if they don't have the opportunity to actually think for themselves in a quiet space? For the ones who are interpersonal and they're supposed to be engaging with some other student, how are they supposed to do that? You can't put everybody in like a little room all the time. So for this particular year and going into its second year, we have to understand these kids are experiencing something, teenagers, college students are experiencing something that no one has ever experienced in our lifetime. So you can't expect them to always excel. Are there going to be those anomalies that will always excel? Yes. Are there always going to be those students who need a little extra support? Yes. But to see a student to suddenly withdraw from their studies, or to begin tanking a subject that they used to love, there's something to be said about checking in on that. There's something to be said about reaching out to that student and saying, hey, I'm starting to notice a couple of changes with you. I'm a little concerned. I want you to know that I'm here for you to talk to me if you want to, right? Because if you can open that lane of communication, you can get that student to identify what's going on their own as well and want to reach out, as opposed to you saying, you don't normally act like this, like I'm disappointed in you. I can't believe that you failed this class. I can't believe that you failed this test. This isn't like you. You don't know what it's like because you've never experienced it.
Right.
That kid's trying to learn in an environment that's not normal for them.
And many of the things you just said also apply to adults. Whether they're interpersonal, intrapersonal, they need processing time. If I'm a person, I'm very interactive. I love social engagement, right? My job is one that does that on a normal basis. But now here I am working from home on a computer with no interactions with people. That really, those interactions are what drive me to perform at a high level. Adults, remember too, you too are going through a pandemic, and you may be experiencing some type of trauma because you are not in a space where you feel you are the most either productive or in your most natural state. And so when we talk about, or Ms. Small talked about this idea of feeling balance, you may feel out of balance, and that could cause you to have some negative interactions with people around you. So teachers, if you're dealing with coworkers that seem to be a little bit more negative, if you're dealing with students that seem to have attitude or they're shutting down, or even if your own children or your husband, you're really not quite sure what people are really going through in this pandemic that's causing them to act in a negative way, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest thing you just said is that you have to know these people first and to know when something is different. If you don't know them, then what, Miss Mall? What would you say?
Keep your mouth shut. No, but if you really don't know, there are ways to introduce the conversation. So if it's a student, like, for school counselors, for example, they may not get to see every student all the time. They may not get the opportunity to introduce themselves with, you know what I mean? When you have one school counselor for 700 kids, it's going to be really hard for you to get to know everyone. Yeah. But when that one student keeps getting pinged in the system, or when that teacher keeps saying, I'm starting to feel a little something, I don't know, those referral processes are going to be really important. The teacher can give insight to that student and say, normally, they may struggle for a little bit, or, the first week in the 6-week cycle is a little bit rough, but usually by the 3rd week, they're picking up on their homework, they're really engaged, so forth and so on. If you're not seeing that, there's a sign there to say, maybe this is a mood disorder. Maybe there's something about anxiety here. Maybe there's something about, attention deficit. Like, there are so many different things that there could be, but that school counselor or that guidance counselor, or at the university level, that CAPS member, the psychological services officer, might need some more insight into that person or into that student. And it's the same with adults. So people like to think about kids and teenagers like they're not little people,
right?
But they're little people. So the same thing that you experience as an adult is going to happen with youth and young adults. I noticed a comment from Catherine about sometimes you don't know that you need therapy until after you're there.
Yeah.
And as a therapist, we always tell people, you don't have to go to therapy just because something's wrong, right? A lot of people think, the only time to go to therapy is when I'm in crisis, or when my kid's not behaving properly. Right. When in actuality, if you treat it like you would your physical, like that you do every year or every 6 months, or, as you get up in age, you might do those tests for, colon cancer, or you might do your mammograms.
You watch yourself there.
The point is, you got to do them all, but that's the responsibility that you have to the role.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility to the health that you have. So therapy is not just for when you are in crisis, but it can be those maintenance checkups. You can go talk to a therapist and say, hey, I haven't talked to anybody in a while. I need some dedicated space that's just for me.
Yeah, I agree. So let's tackle another question.
Sure.
How do you know the difference between, and this could be kind of complex, so try to frame it in a way that everybody will probably get the answer that you're going to give.
Okay.
How do you know the difference between just being sad? I'm just having a day, I'm just kind of down. It's been a rough day. I'm kind of sad today. And I think I may be depressed.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll do it in two ways.
Okay.
A lot of people use diagnosis terminology, when they shouldn't.
Okay.
So a lot of people are going to say things like, oh, I'm depressed, or oh, I have anxiety, or, oh, I think I'm bipolar. And as a therapist, that drives me nuts, because for the most part, diagnoses are not permanent states. There are some things that are going to be chronic conditions. If you were schizophrenic, for example, there's a high likelihood that the schizophrenia that you are experiencing is going to be long term. Things like depression and anxiety are not necessarily like that. There's a set of criteria that you have to meet for a certain amount of time to be considered depressed. So you have to have met and I say this generally, you have to meet like 7 criteria for 2 weeks to 3 months or 6 months before somebody's going to say, yes, that's clinical depression.
Is there something specifically somebody need to look for to determine that this is something more than depression? Besides the obvious signs, maybe, self-harm or something like that.
Without a DSM and understanding the DSM,
maybe just time itself. If I'm feeling the same way for a long period of time, maybe.
It's more the time for if you're trying to really determine whether it's depression versus I'm just sad today. I would say it's the time that matters. It's the length of time of those feelings, and the feelings aren't just, oh, I feel sad today. Mm-hmm. It's I am hopeless and feel helpless. Like there's a degree to that level of sadness. Okay. There's a degree to that level of hurt, or the timeline has to be like you have to meet all of those things at the same time.
Gotcha.
For it to count. So when people say I'm depressed, it's become kind of the lexicon, like everybody just kind of says it, but it's not really the case. It's not really an accurate statement. Are there seasons where people are more sad? Yes. We actually have a diagnosis for that. It's called seasonal affective disorder. In the winter months, when light is less available, everybody feels a little bit lower, right? Like you start to see everybody, and everybody packs on like the winter weight. Yeah. They do that because it's comforting to feel a little heavier. Yes, it keeps you warm in the winter. Yes, it's a part of our, mammalian lifestyle. But there's something about, how do I comfort my body? So I'm going to eat more comfort foods. I'm going to put on this weight. I'm going to try to surround myself with people that I love and care about, or cuff. So you have to do all of these things because you're trying to combat that feeling.
Yeah.
But when it goes from that kind of temporary kind of feeling to a long-term chronic condition, that's when we start to look at those diagnoses for things like mood disorders, depression.
Okay, so let's go in the same direction, but something I hear people say all the time. I hear it all the time. And that is the idea of, I just can't wait for things to get back to normal. I just can't wait for things to get back to normal. What are they really saying? What does that mean for some people?
What's normal for them, maybe? Mm-hmm. They want to feel normal. For some people, it's like, I want to feel happy again, or I want to feel satisfied or fulfilled, right? So, and I'll take this to a more adult kind of realm. How many times do we go to work and we're like, man, I can't believe I just went to work today. I really don't want to get up. Like, I can't believe I have to go and do da-da-da-da-da-da. If you wanted things to go back to normal, what would normal look like for you? Would it be a situation where you got up and you were excited to go to work? Okay, cool. what would make you excited to go to work? So let's put more of that into your day, right? That's how we would address that concern. If it's, I want more balance in my day, that would make me more excited. That would make me feel more normal. Okay, so if you know that you're working 8 hours a day plus, how can we cut back on some things so that your day is more balanced, so that your structure is focused on keeping your interest or keeping your social meter at a certain level, so forth and so on. That's how we would address those goals, right? So when you say, I want things to go back to normal, do you mean normal in your trauma? Do you mean normal in your feelings? Do you mean normal in your emotional well-being? So it depends on the person and what that person means by normal. And that takes a little teasing, that takes conversation to say, what does normal look like for you? And what are you trying to get back to? And is it a healthy thing you're trying to get back to? Because some people's normal is addiction.
Yeah.
So, and addiction doesn't have to mean drugs or alcohol.
Right.
Some of that addiction can be television. Some of that addiction can be, sex. Some of that addiction can be their phone. It's not to say it's food. It's not to say that addiction is only one thing. Mm-hmm. But if you're only addicted to, as I like to say, the hedonistic lifestyle, if you only want to deal with yourself and only want to be selfish, there's a problem there.
Yeah. So it's one of the things I think about is that, one, when I hear people say that from an educational standpoint, I hear people say, I want to be effective, right? Mm-hmm. In this environment of what I do with teachers or what I do with students or how I engage with parents or whatever the case may be, I don't feel effective where I am right now. The other thing is I hear people saying in my mind is that I want to feel safe. I don't feel safe in this environment, whether it's what I'm doing currently or where I am or how I operate. I don't feel safe. So what is it that you think people need in order to feel safe? It's very compound, complex type of thought. But I don't think everybody has thought about it that way. But that's kind of what I hear when I think about students that are working from home and they're saying, I can't do my work, blah, 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 blah. But in some cases, what they're saying is, I don't feel safe in order to work freely here or to think freely or to talk freely or to operate freely. So we want to bring back this sense, even in normalcy, you still have to feel this idea of safety. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So that goes to Maslow's hierarchy, right? Okay. When you think about what's on the hierarchy, the very first level is safety.
Yeah.
You want to feel safe in your home, or you want to feel safe in you're moving through the world. You want to be addicted to solitaire. Sorry. You want to feel safe with your relationships with someone to make you feel comfortable. But that also means that you need physical safety, even in the amount of sleep you're getting, or the amount of food you're getting. So you're talking about security, not just physically, like having a house to live in, but you're talking about those elements that make you feel as though you're okay to move to the next stage, so that you can look at love or self-actualization, so forth and so on. And safety now is probably one of the hardest things to get. And I say that because the pandemic did something that nobody expected, right? COVID took from us the security that we all lived with, whether it was warranted or not. When you went to the store and you couldn't find toilet paper, that created an issue. It created a trauma for you, because at that moment you experienced lack. And for much of America, they had never experienced lack, period. So for those who have dealt with lack before, or those who have dealt with food insecurity before, they knew a little bit more about what to do. Okay, well, if I can't find it here, I know I can go to this person, or I know I can go to the people in the neighborhood that will resell for you. Catch a bootleg. I didn't say that, but you heard it. They knew how to get to some of that stuff where other people didn't. If you've never gone to a store during like a storm or something and seen like all the bread and eggs and milk gone, this was new for you.
Yeah.
And so that triggered something about your own psychological safety. You no longer feel like the country is taken care of. You no longer feel like your leaders are taking care of you. You no longer feel like you can take care of yourself or your family. And that's going to change the way you move through the world for the rest of your life until you address it. And so that safety that they're trying to get back to is to say, I want certainty. I want to feel secure that someone is in control. You may not believe in a higher power, but you at least believed that the government was going to maintain some sense of control.
Right.
We live in America. It's the greatest country in the world. This showed you that it wasn't. It created a moment where the veil was lifted, where the rose-colored glasses fell off, and everybody wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
And so now they're questioning, can I take care of my family? Do I have the skills to do that? Do I have to go back and farm now? What if, technology implodes? What happens if this happens and this happens? And all the what ifs create a different sense of understanding with the world. And that's the safety that they're trying to replace. And that's not going to be easy because, as we've all seen, the pandemic ain't gone. Miss Panorama not going nowhere, okay? So we have to now readjust to what normal is. Normal is no longer the original version of capitalism. Normal needs to be something different. We have to do something different.
So I'm glad you said that. And I think we're going to wrap up tonight's conversation with this. And you said that we are going to need to readjust. Almost, we're going to have to create a new idea of what's normal.
Yes.
And so when we think about schools and teachers going back, many of them will be going back face-to-face this upcoming fall. Universities will be back in full session. Face-to-face football games, basketball games, bonfires, like the whole shebang will be back in place. But there are still going to be people that have this level of an uncertainty that will create a space of unsafety or lack of being safe. What are some things that we need to consider in the field of education, whether it be K-12, post-secondary, the P20 pipeline? What is it that we need to really, really consider as we reopen these institutions to ensure that we can minimize this idea of insecurity and make our students and teachers and staff and our parents who are sending their students to us feel as safe as possible? It's not 100%, we know that. But what are some of those things that we can do to put in place to ensure we're considering their mental and emotional health?
Can I give you two answers?
I would love to.
Okay. My first answer, abolish the system. Abolish it completely.
Wow.
And I say that because the system as it stands, the one that people are trying to get back to, shouldn't exist. And I say that because it's not benefiting the everyman. Okay. We no longer need to work in factories. It's not like you need 8 hours a day to be accomplished. We know that now. We've worked from our laptops. We know that things can be different. If collectively we don't make those kinds of changes, everything will go back to the way it was and no one will be happy. Because the sense of loss that we have all experienced as a nation, as a world, should have changed your perspective on what should be happening, right? So that would be my utopian answer. Knock it all down, burn it, and start fresh. That would be my that would be my new normal. Like that would be what I would envision to be the best plan. In the reality of things,
Okay.
we're more we're more likely looking at trying to support the mental and emotional health of all people. And what that looks like is building coping skills in everyday life. It has to be a situation where we infuse those self-care steps.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to know, okay, what is it that helps you get back to your normal? What is it that helps you get back to your balanced place? You need to have your exercise routine and your self-care steps and your self-care plan. Who are your social supports? You need to know who the people you can trust with your conversations. What is it like? I forget the systems name guy now off the top of my head, but there's a way to have conversations with different levels of people, right? You might tell everybody, you know, what you put on Facebook, but there are certain things that you keep very intimate. Those intimate things only go to specific people. You need to do the same thing. You can't tell everybody everything.
Right.
And you can't expect everybody to pour positive things into you either. So you have to have those little pockets of social support that take care of the different areas of your life. You need friends. Everybody needs connection. It's part of who we are. So that connection needs to come from people who are going to help you in a certain way. Some people are going to tell you yes. You need people who tell you no.
Yes.
Right? Like you have to have a balanced relationship. You need your breathing exercises. You need to be able to move your body. Physical fitness is going to be so important moving forward because they're going to try to rush us back to a sedentary lifestyle immediately. They want you to be sitting at your desk. They want you to be in this office. And you realize now, like, oh man, I hadn't moved these muscles in so long, or now I started going back to working out and all these other kinds of things. You're going to have to keep up those patterns, the good patterns. If your pattern during the panorama was to drink and smoke every day, you might want to change those patterns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's what you feed your body. Mm-hmm. And if you're not feeding your body the good things, it's not going to be able to withstand the bad things that will happen to it. So you have to give it the things it needs to live. You are both the seed and the soil. You have to nurture the seed that you have been given. You have to grow as a person. And it takes sunlight, it takes movement, it takes watering. You have to hydrate. Like all of those things are going to be important to your overall wellness. And that would be my suggestion moving forward.
Wow. The powerful thing that you said is what's normal is not always necessary.
Honey.
And we did a lot of things that we thought were necessary in life. And then this happened and we realized that I didn't have to move that way. I didn't have to think that way. I didn't have to run in those circles. I didn't have to buy those things. You know, I didn't have to eat these particular things. I didn't have to go to these particular spaces and places to feel important. And so we've got to really, really rethink what's necessary to really create a new set of norms for ourselves. And I think if we do that, it's going to help decrease some of our stressors that can impact our emotional and our mental health. But like you said, you got to think about the seed and the soil. And you can't think about just one. It has to be both. And as you rethink that, as you said earlier, you got to think about some of those things that you're going to need to till and some of those things that you're going to need to burn and destroy and just start over.
Yeah.
That could be relationships. Could be desires. It could be expectations.
Ooh, the shoulds of life. Yes.
And it could be experiences that you continue to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things to really, really unpack just in this short, less than an hour conversation that we just had. But again, I think it was rich. I think it was deep. But most importantly, I think it was necessary. At some point, I want to have you back on here. And it's not going to be teacher talk. It's going to be just a night, but a night soon. And this is the conversation I want to have, and I want everybody who's watching this to listen to what I'm saying, because I want you to come back. Within the next 7 days, I'm going to have another live stream conversation with young men between the ages of 16 to 25. And the title of the conversation is going to be, what do we tell our young kings? Because we're living in a space right now that our young men don't know how to feel safe. And as adults, it's our job to bring about this sense of security. So I want to hear from them what they're feeling, what's going through their minds as they watch and as they listen to everything that's going on in the world right now, from pandemic to police shootings to everything. And what is it that we're going to hear from them that's going to help us to verbalize what our young kings need to hear from us, so we can help them move forward and not get stuck in the current space that we're in, because we're just in a moment in time, and we've got to be able to move forward out of this. This is not a moment of cement, it's just a moment of mud, and we can get out of this. And so I want to help navigate those young men to a different space in their heads so they can move in a different space physically. So that's coming up next 7 days. What is it do you tell a young king? We're going to have a live stream conversation with about 5 or 6 young men, the ages 16 to 25. And we're going to have a very candid conversation about where we are right now. How do we help them feel safe? And how do we help them move forward, get out of the cement and get into the mud, to pick their feet up and move? Nicole Small, what do I say? Thank you again. This has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for everybody that's tuned in, that's watching, that has shared this and liked, comment. Remember, you can subscribe, get all the notifications, especially when I come back live in the 7 to 10 days to have a conversation with the young kings. But I appreciate you guys so much. Nicole, I appreciate you. If you want to reach out to Nicole Small, let me share her information with you. She has shared her Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok social medias, as well as her LinkedIn page and her Gmail account. This information is also listed in the description on YouTube as well as Facebook. So there's no need to write it down or screenshot it, people. Just look on the description and details, and you have all the information at your fingertips. But I want to make sure that you knew that it was available to you so that you can have access to it and reach out to her. Again, thank you so much for joining me. We're going to go round 3. Coming soon. I'll let you know when. And
Listen,
I want you to be able to help these young men, because I think there are some real
you.
issues that need to be shared and to be really put on the table, so we can kind of almost like a fish with bones in it. We gotta just be able to get through the stuff that's going to harm us, right? And take in the stuff that we really need.
Yeah, you got to pull it out. Thank you again. Honestly, this is such an enjoyable experience for me, and I'm so thankful to be able to share with your audience and share with you, especially. It's truly my pleasure. So I really appreciate it, and I would love to come back for a 3rd time.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. So, guys, as I always say, thank you guys so much. Be safe, be blessed. But if you know you're coming back, why not choose to come back better? I'll leave you with that. Have a good night.